Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, I'm gonna be showing to you one of the projects that I've been working on for the past few days. So it's actually a really good project. It's a live face mask detector, uh, and as you can see, I've been working on this for a little bit of time. So yeah, now one thing that I wanted to just say before I actually show you the demo, walk you through the code, is this model isn't that accurate, and the reason is not that I couldn't come up with a good model architecture, but I actually came up with one, and I even tested it, and it turned out to be really good. But I couldn't actually test it on my local machine. What I had to do was run it on a Google Collaboratory and check out my predictions over there. So what happened was I even tried exporting it from the Google Colab to my local machine through the Google Drive, but for some reason it ran into some error, which I don't know what. That it kind of messed up all of my file encodings. So what happened was when I actually loaded in the model files, which are pretty complex if you actually look at it in this way, it has a lot of these things called saved models and stuff like that. When I actually tried to load it in, it absolutely got screwed up. Like I just ran into an error, a lot of errors. So what I had to do was I had to scrap a lot of the data and literally had to do this entire project with like a few images. I originally was doing it with hundreds of images by splitting the frames. It was pretty cool. Well, that's just computation. I didn't have a lot of I didn't have that much of computational power, and that was the main reason. In case if you do have that, you can absolutely run it. In fact, I would encourage you to run it and even put the model up on GitHub, and please link it in the comment section down below. Even I can use it. I will literally heart your comment and pin it to the thing, and I will even call your name out in the next video, because that will really be a cool thing. So yeah, definitely, if you can figure out, like I will show you a few of the model architectures that I went with, which were pretty good. But yeah, you can literally just use any model architecture that works fine and is not overfit. So yeah, so basically the project is face mask detection. So I conveniently have a face mask right next to me. Now it is kind of more over to the, like, it always usually detects it as a not a face mask. That's some of the problems, but I'm just gonna show you the final result. So it's live underscore detection without lag. If you're wondering why the file name is so bad, that's because there are two files: the main.py file and the this one. So main.py was like the live face mask detection, but it was really laggy. So that's the reason why I got rid of it, and I named this file like this. So it does take a second to run the file, since it needs to load in the model and the cascade classifiers and stuff like that. So it does take a second. But once it loads in, it's pretty quick in other things like detection and all of that fun stuff. So yeah, and since I already, like, I just turned on my computer and I started recording this video, so like it needs to kind of, it takes a second or two. Come on. Okay, why isn't? I think there we go. So as you can see, the model is loaded in now, and it has also accessed my thing on my webcam. Now right now you'll be seeing that there's a little bit of a lag. The lag is basically because I am recording at the same time. Even if you, like, you won't get a lag like this. It's again, it's just because I am recording that I am getting this form of a lag. In a normal case, you just don't get that. So yeah, as you can see over here, I can move around, and it is detecting this as a no mask. Let me actually do one thing. Let me just exit out of this real quick. Okay, why isn't it allowing me? Alright, and what I'm going to do is going to get rid of the print statements. So yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of this code. and let me run it again. One second, let me, it's actually just saving the file till now. I don't know why it's not able to keep up with all of this. I don't know why. Whatever. Alright, let's run the code again, and you will see how it detects the face mask. So again, it does take a second. So yeah. Now the actual project is not that accurate, which I just outlined, but it can detect no masks pretty easily. It's moreover the mask detection that it's kind of bad at. So yeah, that's just one thing that I wanted to tell you. So yeah, in case if it kind of does not get it, it's not like it's not working, it's just not that accurate enough. uh, because like it is pretty accurate in terms of the model architecture, but it's not accurate in terms of the what do you say, like when I say that, like it's not accurate because the data set is pretty small, so it's not able to like generalize positions and different mask colors and stuff like that. So that's one of the problems. So what I'm going to do is just wear my mask over here right now. So currently, as you can see, it's no mask by 100%. So I'm just going to wear my mask now, and it will still detect it as a no mask. Now I'm sorry if my sound is kind of screwed up right now. Okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, so this is something where, okay, yeah, alright. Alright, kind of screwed up. I need to uncomment this. Alright, and I can just get rid of the. Actually, I need to keep this. The reason why I couldn't get any output was because the Haar Cascade couldn't detect my face since that I was wearing a mask, so it kind of got screwed up. And that's not a problem in my code. That's just the Haar Cascade can't detect it. So I wish they had like a mask version also nowadays, but yeah, well, that's how it is. So yeah, let's see how good it can detect my mask. Like I tried before this and it did work nicely. So now I'm just gonna wear my mask, and as you can see, it does detect it as a mask over here. Now as you can see, it is kind of biased over the no mask, but as you can see, it is detecting a mask over here. As you can see, here I can do something like this. It detects a mask, and you will also see if we go over here, it says mask, no mask, mask, and something like that. So yeah, as you can see, that's pretty much the actual uh, app website. Like, I'm sorry, app. I'm not sure why I called it a website. All right, so that's pretty much the entire project that I've created. Now let's actually walk you through the code. So the first file that I'm gonna walk you through out of this entire thing is the main kind of the neural network, the brains of this project, the neural network. So as you can see, this is the entire neural network that I went with. Now as you can see, I have commented out a lot of this code, and I will explain to you why I have done that stuff. So first of all, I just have made the standard imports that you kind of need to make every time. This is just me loading in the data with a target size of 300. Now keep this in mind, okay? Keep this line in mind. Then here basically all I'm doing is just listing out the shape of the data, which is not necessary. I don't know why I had done that. I should probably just comment this out. That's not necessary. Here we are just defining the two possible predictions that you could have. That's basically what's called the class names, and then we have just created the model. Now this model, it's not like crazy dense or crazy complex. It's pretty basic, it's not that complex. So we have 128 by 3 kernel and filter, pass it through max pooling, then we make it a 64 and then make it a 32, and then we add a like a max pooling for every one of them. Now it's there. It We have one model which is like, we have a convolutional model which is kind of good, and it is also kind of good at predictions and stuff, but it's still not that crazy good. So I did actually come up with a few good model architectures that worked good, but they kind of took up a lot of processing time. Like, it worked, like my laptop also didn't actually slow down. It worked perfectly fine, but it would take it like hours or probably a day, and I just wasn't that patient. So basically, what I did was I basically took this convolution and copied it, added a 256 convolution, then just took this convolution, copied it, then I added a dense of about 700, a dense of 500, passed it through a dropout of point 2, so we scrap out 20% of the neurons, pass it through a flatten, and then pass it through a output dense layer with 2 neurons and an activation of softmax. Pretty standard stuff, nothing that complex. And here I just loaded in the model and compiled the model. I know it should be binary cross entropy over here. I don't know why I have sparse categorical. But I think I had kept it as binary when I trained it, so that's not a problem. So here we are just calling the model summary function, just seeing what the model looks like, and we are saving it. Now, as you can see, I have quite a few models saved over. So it's mask model v1, mask model v2, mask model v3, mask model v4, and less data mask model. All of these 1, 2, 3, and 4 models were all trained on a lot of data. And I want out of this, the 3 and 4, and even possibly the 2 models will need some additional code to load in, which is, I think I have provided it, this one. You will need this try and accept block for that. So yeah, just put it in there. And for the less data mask model and the mask model v1, you probably won't need that. The reason why I have, like, you need to add this extra line of code is because these mask model v2, v3, and v4 were all created in a Google Collaboratory. And as I told you in the start of the video, when I actually exported it, it kind of messed up something, and some file out of the entire model folder was like some indentation in that file wasn't correct. When I exported it, it kind of messed up, and it just didn't work. So that's why you need to add this try and accept block. Like, I literally searched it up on what do you say, Stack Overflow, and a lot of people were running into the same error that I ran into. So yeah, this is the solution to that. But don't use this in the live version. That's the reason why I actually shortened up the dataset, because in the live version this also doesn't work. So yeah, we are basically loading in the model and compiling the model. That's something that I already went over. And now we have this thing called normal testing, and this. So normal testing is basically, I'm just opening up this directory called testing data. I think I have it somewhere where, yeah, as you can see, I have a few images in here. And it's basically like I'm just loading in the image, uploading it, and then just predicting it. Not that, nothing very crazy. And then what I have is, this was to test the main file and its prediction scores. So what I was initially doing with my main file was all of my live detections. And what happened was, like, the way I was actually doing this was because I'm just terrible with OpenCV. In case if you don't know, I'm just very bad at that thing. So what I did was I loaded in the model, and then I pretty much took a screenshot every frame. When I say screenshot, I mean I grabbed the OpenCV screen. So even if I would have a cursor on top of it, it wouldn't get detected. It would just take the frame and it would just save it, and I would just cv2.im write it. And that's basically what I did. And what that led to was literally 2 frames per second. It was really laggy. It just lagged a lot, and because the reason was I was loading in a model, a machine learning neural network, and I'm sorry, a neural network, every frame. Like just loading in that thing takes about 2 seconds or 3 seconds, 2 seconds. So we are gonna be pausing for every frame, like for 2 seconds, uh, before we actually did that. And that's just loading in the model. Then we took a screenshot, then we passed that screenshot to the model, we made a prediction, displayed that prediction, and then we again went to the top of the loop and did the whole thing again. So yeah, it was literally running on like 0.5 fps, 1 fps, something like that. So it wasn't very optimal in that way. So I needed to find a way to at least reach it to about a 30 fps mark, which I managed to reach by doing this one. And literally, special thanks to this blog article on Towards Data Science. So yeah, like, because it was because of that blog article that I was able to figure out, like, how I could go about solving the problem. I had to make a lot of I had to make like a few adjustments to the code, but like a little bit of a code I needed to take from that blog article. Which so yeah, special thanks to Towards Data Science. I wish I could link that blog article, but I just can't find it again now. So yeah, that's pretty much the main file. So that's basically why I tested this, because what happened was when I was actually testing the main file, I was getting a prediction of no mask, but I wasn't getting a prediction of mask. So I thought that there was something wrong with the model. So what I did was I passed it through this model file by loading in the prediction image and then running both of the files simultaneously by running both of the files together. And what happened was the prediction image was uploading. I would load in the prediction image and I would predict on the prediction image, and then I would just check if the net and the main matched with the predictions, just to check if there was nothing wrong with the model, or if there was something wrong with my updating the prediction or something like that. So that was basically why I needed to have this line of code. You can pretty much get rid of it now. So yeah, and the main file is also something that like I you can keep it to actually understand what's going behind the hood, because this file is a little bit, a bit more OpenCV heavy. So you do need to understand a lot of OpenCV to understand what is written in this file. So yeah, that's pretty much that. So now this is the main file, like the file that you actually like, the file that contains the finished result. Again, the standard imports, I won't be going over them. Here we are basically loading in the cascade classifier, which is the har cascade frontal face default.xml. I have just saved it into my directory, as you can see. That's in case if you don't know what har cascades are. They are basically these huge XML files which you can load in using OpenCV, and then you can just run the file, and like you have to write a little bit of additional code like for XY with height and faces. And basically what you can do is you can do detection of various things with them, like face, eye, full body and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. So here what I say is video capture is equal to cv2.video capture 0. Now this doesn't have to be 0, this can be anything. So basically what the 0 stands for is I want to capture my local webcam. So the webcam that is installed on my laptop. So in case I have a Mac, so a Mac does have a webcam. So I'm using the webcam from my Mac. So I think one thing that's actually a thing is that if I would enable my webcam over here, I will not be able to run the file, because the only way you can actually video capture it is when the webcam isn't already running in the background. So that's one of the reasons why, if you are recording already, like you are already using your webcam, make sure to actually close that up before you actually run this code, because you will probably run into an error. So yeah, now what you could do is, if you have like some security camera outside your flat or bungalow or something like that, what you could do is you could just figure out what that security camera is connected to, like maybe run stream of that data onto localhost, and then load in all of that from the localhost. So you will be capturing the data that is being taken in by that webcam that's like fitted outside your house, and then you will be able to detect if anyone comes to your house without a mask and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of what that cv2.video capture thing does. Then this is basically we put it in a while true, capturing the frame by frame. So we just read it, convert it to a grayscale, and what this does is it basically what do you say, detects the faces. So it uses the face cascade to detect like and draws that rectangle thing on my face. So then it just takes the face list and the parents, and then it just is for xy with height in the faces. We create this face frame, we convert the color to the RGB again, then we resize the frame to a 300 by 300. Now this is something that you need to know. Alright, so what we are doing here is we need to resize the frame to a specific dimension. You can't just put any arbitrary number in here. You need to remember what dimensions of data were you loading in as your target size. You need to remember that. And you just need to put two channels in there. You don't have to put your RGB channel like the you don't have to put 300 by 300 by 3. Just put your width and height in there. Don't put your RGB number of channels. So you do just keep this one line in mind, because like you probably don't know what these 300 and 300 will stand for, and you are just gonna be playing around with it. Don't do that. So if you change your target size, if you go with something like 500 or 200 or 100, make sure to change it over here, because otherwise it just won't work. You are gonna run into an error. Then we just convert it to an array, using image to array, and just expand the dimensions along the like by providing an axis of 0. Do np.vstack, and this I don't know why I've done it. This was one of the part of the code that I've copied. I literally copied this entire thing. So originally what they were doing was they were doing some if len of face list is 0, then they would predict on something. But for some reason I was running into an error when I was following their instructions. They were doing something like pre-process input, and I just couldn't understand what they were trying to do through that blog article. So what I did was I instead just commented this out and added this thing called vstack, and instead of appending and predicting on the face list, I predicted on each frame, and color. I added the colors, and this is basically just pretty much just like what label do you want to print out. That's basically what it is. So as you can see, that's basically what it does. And this just says that if this is greater than this, print mask. If like, because if you will print out the class indices, you will see in my case, the 00 stands for the mask and 01 stands for no mask. Because if you check out my directory, the way I've set this up is the first is mask and the second one is no mask. So yeah, that's basically the reason. And there are these functions in the original file called add mask and add no mask, which I just don't know, so I just commented them out. So I'm just gonna get rid of them now. And then we just put the text, so we just add that text thing on top of the rectangle, and then we just show this video file. Wait for the q key, and if that does, then we just break out. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much the entire code base. Not a whole lot. I also have this thing called test.py, which where I was just testing around with OpenCV, messing around with it. Nothing too complex. And that's pretty much the entire project. Now it did take me 22 minutes to even walk you through this project. Like, let alone code it out. If I tried to code it out, I would probably run into like a million errors or bugs along the way, because I did, and it would take me hours to get it done. So yeah, but I actually have a really cool video for you guys that is going to be coming up very soon. I don't know, I can't actually tell you when, because like it's actually going to be like, I'm deciding whether it can be like 1 2 hour or 1 hour 40-minute video, or two videos like for like 1 hour and 30 minutes. But it's gonna be a really cool video. It will basically combine your knowledge of Pygame and neural networks. No, it's not going to be deep Q learning. Just one thing. So in case if you are getting really happy, need deep Q learning. So no, it's not going to be neural evolution or deep Q learning. It will be something related to live detection of the, like it's gonna be a controller where if you move, then the character in the game will move. It's gonna be something like that. So it's gonna be really cool. So yeah, so stay tuned for that. It's gonna be awesome. So yeah, like, and make sure that if you are following along in that tutorial, you either use a pre-trained model that I have provided in the description box, or you kind of uh, uh, like check which machine you are running. Like if you are running a really good machine, then it's okay. Otherwise, please just use the model that I will have provided you. And if you are running like a pretty bad machine, like you are running like an i3 or something like that, then I wouldn't suggest you to follow along, because this, like, the tutorial will take up a lot of computation, or like it's gonna take up a lot of like space of your computer. Like when I say space, I mean your CPUs. Like a lot of threads are gonna be running. So yeah. So again, I'm just gonna run the file for the last time, and here. So let's just run it again. Again, as you can see, it does take a second to load up a model, but you can work with this. So you can actually put it in a security system. and a lot of things. So this is a really cool project, something that I'm sure a lot of you guys wanted to build, would want to build during this COVID time, but you just weren't sure how to do it. But yeah, now you are. So as you can see over here, it's printing out no mask, and it's showing me no mask 100%. I can go over, wear a mask. I'm sorry if my audio is all bad. I can wear a mask, and if I just go over here, again, as you can see, my detection is kind of screwed up. That's because I cannot get it to draw a square around a, what do you say, I can't get it to draw a square around like my mask with my face. So it does get a little bit screwed over with that. So it does